All right, and we are on with Deacon Kevin Sartorius, and you're with Catholic Charities of Eastern Oklahoma. You guys have worked, I don't know, probably for decades on helping immigrants settle in the United States, getting them set up and with the resources that they need, finding language skills, all that kind of stuff. And we've got kind of a red ball situation with folks from Afghanistan. My understanding is several hundred are coming to Tulsa. Kind of outline for us what you guys went through today in your news briefing, if you would, sir.
Sure. Catholic Charities of Eastern Oklahoma and Catholic Charities of the Archdiocese of Oklahoma City as well. Both of us have been resettling refugees since the Vietnam War, just as you've indicated. And so we have decades of service in this way. And what we find is people come here, they need a little help on the front end. But as soon as they get up on their feet, they're off and running, and they'll be, employed. They'll be paying their own rent. They'll actually be homeowners probably 5 years out. And so it's a great joy for us to see people come in need, but then turn around and actually make the community richer and better off because they're here. What we found out that makes this unique in this time is that we've been asked to resettle about 800 Afghan refugees, which would be probably about 200 families. Now, to put that into context, we normally serve about 350 families or 350 people a year, 350 people a year in the refugee program in a 12-month period. And so now we're looking at, with the Afghan situation, 800 people in probably 3 months, let's say. It could be 6 weeks. It could be 6 days. There's so much that we're unsure of that we're kind of planning for the worst case, but hoping for the best. Again, knowing that once they get set up, they'll be off and running on their own.
So the first thing that occurs to me is you got to find a place for them to sleep, and just basic shelter and food and clothing while we get them set up. Because my guess is most of these folks left with maybe what they could carry on their backs and not a lot more. True?
We're told that most people will come with essentially a trash bag full of belongings for each person, and it may include a change or two of clothes, but really nothing else. And so Catholic Charities will provide what are called core services that are outlined by the State Department. And those, first and foremost, as you've indicated, are housing, and then beyond lodging on a temporary basis, the food that they'll need to survive in those first several weeks, maybe the first month or two. And so our kind of the rush is on, honestly, to get temporary housing set up, which should be mostly hotel rooms. And then we'll begin the long-term case management of getting them into apartments.
So, do we know yet? I know a lot of these folks were probably translators or had worked with Americans over the years, and so one would surmise that some of them will have some English, but not all of them. And so, are language services part of this equation as well, or is that something that we handle further down the road?
Language is kind of a first-tier item. Because if someone can't understand perhaps a lease agreement, then the renter is going to say, I don't know if I can do this, because they'll claim they didn't understand what was happening. And just really the basics of early medical care or whatever they need. So language is a big piece of this. These folks, oftentimes, I think in most cases, will have one family member that knows some English. Because they worked with the U.S. government, our U.S. soldiers overseas, and served our military. But for the rest of the family, we've worked hard to build an interpreter translator team by working with the community to gather resources. Now we're talking Farsi, Dari, and Pashto are the 3 languages that we're told these folks will speak. Now we've reached out to folks who, Farsi is actually a pretty common language in the Middle East, and so there's quite a few people there. And the others, just a matter of, Catholic Charities kind of shaking the tree and seeing what falls out. And honestly, there's more people out there than we would have expected who have these language skills.
Yeah, we have a pretty sizable Muslim population in Tulsa. We have a thriving and active mosque. My stepdaughter and her husband attend there. In fact, they've already volunteered with you guys to help, get these folks welcomed. And some of them might have a little Arabic because that is the language of the Quran, and they read and they worship in that language. So that might be a possibility as well. Do we know, Deacon Kevin, how these 800 folks were selected? Like, was this a random drawing? Oh, you're going to Cleveland, you're going to Tulsa, or how did that work? Or do you know?
Well, what we do know is that the U.S. State Department is working at these military bases, typically on the East Coast, to try and do the vetting of the individuals, and that's their health screenings, their security background checks, things of that nature. The only people that will come to Tulsa, Oklahoma, are people who have no relative or friend in another city, and so there is not a strong Afghan population that pre-exists in Tulsa. So they're going to kind of assign people who have no place else that they have a contact, and they're all called free cases. And that means that Catholic Charities will have to really lean on the community for support, whether that be, the South Tulsa Baptist Churches said they would help, or the Islamic Society of Tulsa, or the Eastern Oklahoma Food Bank, and the list goes on. There's really virtually hundreds of contacts we've made where Tulsa has stepped up and said, when they arrive, we want to be a part of the solution. And those are the kind of folks who are going to come to us.
And so if individuals want to get involved, and I'm glad that there are a lot of great organizations here in town, and we are well set up to deal with this. I mean, that's a lot of folks, but we have the resources if we band together and just apply ourselves. If individuals want to get involved, do they come to your Facebook page? Do they call the diocese? How do they get involved?
Well, I think Tulsa will rise to the occasion on this, as they have in so many other ways. And what we have to do then is to coordinate how we all band together to create a solution. And what we've done is set up on our website, actually, cceok.org/refugees, an opportunity for people, if they want to volunteer and have language skills, they can sign up. If they're an organization that has maybe furnishings that they can donate to help set up an apartment, or would like to take several apartments, or if there's a family who would just like to buy a basketball, or a lamp, or a comforter and a set of sheets, all of that can be done online, where they sign up, they get the address of where to drop the items off. We have a warehouse, we've committed to this. And then from there, we'll push it forward to the people as they arrive. Of course, it'll take volunteers to set up those apartments. So some people will choose to click on the link on that refugees website that we've set up, and sign up to volunteer. There's really just so many ways it can be done, but I know that Tulsa will persevere, will be warm in its welcome, and then I think these folks will reply in good time with great service to our community.
Well, usually your first generation immigrants become the most loyal citizens and the most enthusiastic Americans. That is, generally speaking, how it tends to go. Is there a particular need or a particular niche of help that you guys really need the most, something that stands out, or is it just kind of a general, anything you can do to help out would be appreciated?
Well, I'd say the greatest need that we have right now is in the permanent housing. If we get the temporary housing solution worked out, then we're going to have everyone keep their antennas up for leases on apartments or houses. If a family can have a permanent place to live, they can get their kids enrolled in school, they can start taking English classes and cultural classes. All of those things are, I think, already kind of in flow, and there'll be ways to volunteer. But the permanent housing solution is really going to be a struggle for Tulsa, because we are about 96.5% renter occupied right now.
Yeah, we're pretty full housing wise. That's true.
Yeah, if you see a for lease sign, get on that cceok.org/refugees and give us the phone number, the email address, the web page. Because that's the part that we're really struggling with at this moment.
Okay, and finally, Deacon, then thank you so much for your time, because I know this is a busy day for you. Financially, you mentioned finance. I presume the federal government's picking up some of this, the State Department, maybe the military. I don't know, but cash is one way that people can help. Is there and I'm sure cceok.org/refugees, you said, is the website. I would guess there's a donation link there, or is there a number of people can text to and just pony up a little dough if they want to help?
Actually, it is true that if you go to the website, there's a way to make a financial contribution as well. And Catholic Charities in Tulsa has indicated, I'm representing that viewpoint that every dollar that comes into that page will be used for these Afghan refugees. We're receiving no other refugees right now other than Afghanis. And while we have 14 other programs, they already have a process to fund themselves. So every dollar will be used to support an Afghan family, whether it be their basic needs or maybe helping them down the road to buy a used car so they can get to work, putting a little bit of cash in their pocket so that when they walk out on the street, if they need to get on a bus, they can pay for it, things of that nature. That's where we use the cash. Underpinning that process of the community giving that support is some funding from the State Department to help with the first month's rent and the security deposit. So we're not asking for renters to give away their space. We'll be able to pay for it at market rate based on the program funding that we receive.
Outstanding. All right. So did you see this coming? Were you guys kind of counting on getting slammed like this?
We've been doing it for 40 years, so we knew it was coming. We knew that as we trailed off on Afghanistan, that there would be people leaving. What I think has caught the entire country by surprise is the speed at which the transition has taken place. And so I think we went from believing that we would have Afghan people come over the next, say, 3 months or 6 months or maybe 2 years. Now I think we're looking at maybe 3 days, 6 days, or 2 months. And when you squash that timeline, it kind of puts us into disaster mode. The good thing is, again, that Tulsa, whether it be from the floods that we had on the Arkansas a few years ago, to the next thing that happens, we're resilient. We're going to make it happen. We're going to make our country proud.
Outstanding. Well, listen, Deacon, thank you so much for your time. Anything else you want to add before we wrap up?
I think you've done a great job with it. So I appreciate you getting the word out and helping people welcome, this new community.
My pleasure, sir. And I hope we talk again in the near future.
All right. Bless you.
Thank you. Bless you, sir. And stay safe out there. Namaste.
All right. Thank you. All right. Very good.